if our tradesman were to go to the wholesaler every day, say 30 minutes round trip, right? On a micro view, that's like, it's only 30 minutes a day. But if we were to put that across a week, you're looking at like 2.5 hours per tradesman a week. Across a month, that's 10 hours. Across a year, that's 120 hours. When we put that across 3 tradesmen, that's 360 hours. Across a whole year is massive.
All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Tradies Success Academy podcast. I am Ali. I am an accounting coach here at the Academy. And today we have Nathaniel from Whitelock Electrical. How are you going, Nathaniel?
Good, thanks, Ellie. Great to be here.
Great to be here again.
Yeah.
Second time round, second podcast. Yeah, been on with the Academy for a little while now. We've managed to be part of your journey for a little bit of a stretch of time now.
Yeah. I was actually just looking back earlier. Did the incubator in April 22. So.
Wow. So yeah, you're going to be coming up on. Oh, you've clocked over 3 years.
Yeah.
Have you? Yeah. Oh, you'll be doing 3 years this April. Wow. And you've done the full program. And if anyone has listened to your previous podcast as well that you did with Greg, you have had that journey through from, sole trader right through to company with your team now. You've got your team, you've got your admin, you've got that structure going on. And obviously we see that and we see where you get to now, but we know that, business journey is not always the straightforward upward trajectory that it sometimes looks like on paper. And we definitely know that you've had all of those adjustments and trials and tribulations as you've been through that journey yourself as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And I guess today, because we've worked together a little bit within the Academy, which has been awesome for me because we've started working together sort of over the last few months, and I've got to jump on and see where the business is at now, and being the person who kind of looks at the finance side of the business and see how that's going, to see what your business journey and all of the trials and tribulations, but also the wins and successes that you've had within your business, to be able to see over the last few months how that has tracked into laying the foundations for a financially healthy business and a business that you have been able to scale and grow, which is not simple in itself. And as I say, I'm pretty lucky. I've got to see the result of that, of working with you over the last few months. But I guess today what we'd love to chat about is not so much the technical financial side or needing to be a guru in that space as a business owner, but how you do get to start building and achieving that kind of financial stability within your business from actually managing your operations and what that looks like from an operational perspective, so that members or anyone listening here can get a bit of context of what that's looked like from that business side that's got you into this position of really now being able to look at a business that is ticking the boxes in a really financially healthy and sustainable way. Yeah. And just for a bit of context, I guess, so your business, your trade, what does that look like for you, Nathaniel?
Yeah, sure. So we're electricians, obviously, and we primarily do service and maintenance. So the guys are often doing multiple jobs a day, so pretty heavy in the scheduling side of things. So we do a little bit of smaller project work as well, but primarily sort of niching down a little bit more into the service and maintenance.
Service and maintenance, a sort of shorter time frame, higher volume type of work.
Yeah.
And I guess one thing, and it's something that we talk about a lot, we've spoken about a lot, it's one of the biggest things that we look at from a business, but also from a financial perspective, and being in that service and maintenance and that high volume area is looking at some of those key measurements within your business that require management to actually start producing consistent financial results, because you're looking at that volume, that schedule, that week by week, and how we kind of translate that into a business that does start seeing those financially stable performances on an ongoing basis, not an easy thing to do, right?
Mhm.
And one of the biggest things that we generally chat about, and one of the biggest things that we see have such a big impact on profitability within a business, is this key measurement of that big word that we talk about around efficiency.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, it's definitely something that has become more and more important to consider as the business has grown. There's aspects about the way I used to do things when I was on my own that I know if I kept doing that, those running things that way, and it would have a really big impact now as the business has grown. So getting those foundations right and looking at the best way to approach certain aspects of the business is definitely crucial. I've had to learn along the way, but yeah, a big part of that has been from the academy and not necessarily having to make those mistakes and learning the systems, a lot of it around systemization of different aspects.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And it's one of those terms that I feel like there gets to be a lot of confusion about, because what does kind of efficiency mean? It can impact so many areas of your business. And we find that a lot of businesses generally tend to think that that's, how fast your guys are on site, or working your guys multiple hours a week to just make sure that you're constantly running at maximum capacity. And that can be how a lot of people interpret it and manage efficiency, which we often see to be quite an unsustainable way to try and achieve some good financial results in your
Mm-hmm.
business. So for you as a business owner, as you say, having come from sole trader where it's just you and efficiency is just you and how you do the business, to now being a business owner with a team underneath you, what has that kind of management of efficiency, what have been those areas for you that have been key takeaways of managing? If we manage these areas, the overall picture of the business is actually ticking along really healthily.
Yeah, so I think some key aspects in our line of work that have been crucial. So I can run through those. One of them I'd start off with be around the stock management of the business. So for us in service and maintenance, the guys can be going to multiple jobs a day. They can be turning up, and they need to have a good level of van stock of materials. So yeah, we keep quite a high level of stock in the vans. We have a detailed van stock list that the guys are all aware of, with minimum quantities on there of what they're required to have in the vans. So yeah, when we have team meetings, and the guys need to clear out rubbish and that, they then just restock their van from the workshop, just to ensure they're not taking unnecessary trips to the wholesaler. And yeah, so when I was on my own, I remember now I'd go to the wholesaler every day, at least once a day. In the morning, you turn up at the wholesaler and you sort of wait in line for your turn. And at the time, that didn't seem like a big deal. It was just like, oh, obviously, I need to get materials. But now having staff, the compound effect of doing that when you've got staff is really starts to add up.
Yeah.
So yeah, as we've grown, we've had to set that expectation when new staff have come on that we're not about going to the wholesale every day to get materials. In some cases, they may have been used to that in other situations. But yeah, we ultimately aim to have the stock in the van, number one, or if they don't, or it's one-off materials, looking to utilize delivery service from suppliers. That's something that they offer, so looking to utilize that. So like an example of what that could look like from an efficiency point of view is just hypothetically, if our tradesmen were to go to the wholesaler every day, say 30 minutes round trip, right? And so on a micro view, that's like, it's only 30 minutes a day. But if we were to put that across a week, you're looking at like 2.5 hours per tradesman a week. Across a month, that's 10 hours. Across a year, that's 120 hours. When we put that across 3 tradesmen, that's 360 hours
Yeah.
of inefficient time, which is like nine 40-hour weeks. Another way to look at it.
Yeah,
Um,
huge.
yeah, it's huge, and it's not until you sort of it's look at that in the compound effect of that you really realize the impact of that inefficiency.
Yeah,
So that's just one example with the
yeah.
efficiency side of things.
And as you say, that compounding, right?
Mm,
Like it's that management of that small time. But as your business grows and you've got team and you've got
mm,
multiple
mm,
income streams, that 5% loss of time on one income stream, you multiply that by however many
mm,
you've got, how many you've got on the team. Particularly for me, like the financial impact that you see of that
mm.
is so enormous. Like the bigger the business, the bigger the swing factor with that efficiency. And as you say, it's looking at it on that micro level. But when you translate that to a full
Mm.
year of operations, not just for a sole trader, but for an operational business, you're talking this big gap in between performance and billable time.
Yeah, and that sort of view of looking at things on that micro and then going across to the weekly, but up to the yearly, is a habit that I've got into with many aspects of the business, and it's a really good way to view things because it helps you see the importance of certain aspects of the business and the systemization aspect as well as yeah, how crucial that is.
Yeah,
I mean, another aspect of that from the point of view of efficiency um, is the fact that we buy most of our materials in bulk at the workshop here. So we're saving approximately sometimes up to 10% on some of those materials when we're buying it in bulk. So as opposed to going to the wholesaler and buying a one-off item. Um, yeah, so that's just another aspect of that as well to consider.
and in
Um,
terms of profit too,
yeah, for us. Yeah,
that's a
exactly.
10% little win for you there as well.
Yeah, because I mean, in our sort of work, yeah,
Yeah,
because we're able to stock a certain amount of material that we know we're going to use
yeah,
on a regular
absolutely.
basis. So
Yeah, stock management is a huge one. It's such a common area of erosion for
yeah,
profitability and efficiency. And as you
yeah,
say, it's taking it down to the day-to-day level and
mm,
stepping back to realize what the big impact is. Because if you're stepping back after 12 months and finding out what those little 5% or little bit micro amounts of time end up resulting in being at the end of financial year, whoosh,
yeah, yeah,
painful.
yeah, definitely. And another aspect in the way of efficiency we've found is around certain tasks. So, for example, for us being electricians, we have certificates that we lodge. So, it's not uncommon for our team per tradesman to be doing up sort of 10 jobs a week.
Yeah,
And with
well,
that comes a certain amount of admin. And in
yeah,
regards to certificates, that could look like, hour and a half ish of completing certificates, filling out all the details. So we've looked to systemize that more efficiently instead of the guys doing that. Let them focus on what they're good at out in the field.
yeah,
And we've set up a process so that they're literally just approving the certificate. It's all drafted for them by our VA back in the
yeah,
office, and they just have to spend probably about 20 minutes or something a week just approving those. So that's another example of I sort of did the figures, and when you looked at that, you might save say an hour a week per tradesman.
uh,
And that compounds up for our team. That'll be saving about 144 hours a year in time just with that task and doing it in a more
yeah.
efficient manner. Yeah,
And when you think of your time and who in your team with, your billable capacity and who's your admin and what their capacity is, if you've got that clear segregation of duty so that everybody's working to their optimal level, sweet, we're
yeah.
starting to hit that real good efficiency loop within the business.
Yeah, absolutely. That's something that we're really looking to knuckle down on at the moment is the systemization of things. Before we continue to look at growing, just look at the responsibilities and having it really clear who's responsible for what, and looking at who's best to undertake certain tasks.
Yeah.
Yeah, so something we're looking at the
Particularly
moment.
when you get to that business of your size, when you start getting the overlap or the crossover of duties, that's when that messiness starts to happen. And as we say, those inefficiencies start to filter through. And
Mm.
ultimately going to be reflected in your financial performance as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess one of the big areas that we tend to talk about, particularly for me, when I try to explain the concept of efficiency to a lot of businesses, I say, okay, let's look at a 40-hour week. If that's what your guys are paid and they're a full-time guy, 40 hours a week, great. But ultimately crystallize it down to how many hours of those are you actually capturing and being able to invoice for?
Mm.
Because if that's like 30 hours a week, okay, well, you're losing 20% of your billable capacity. And when we look at that, a lot of the time, one of the biggest variables that has that impact and drain on efficiency is scheduling. It is a huge beast to kind of manage and get
Mm.
your head around. And that, as you say, the compound effect when you start having more people within your team as well, the bigger that responsibility and managing that scheduling has, because it talks so much to efficiency in a very direct way.
Mm.
What's been your experience about how you've tried to optimize scheduling to make sure that your billable capacity is getting realized week on week?
Yeah. With the scheduling, there's quite a few different facets to scheduling to create an efficient schedule. I've come to realize it's just recently when I've been training someone to do scheduling within our team. It's not until I've had to do that task that I've realized some of the aspects of it that I don't tend to think about consciously, but that really make an impact.
Yeah, particularly as someone who's been on the tools, you've
Yeah,
done that field work that's so
yeah.
ingrained in you.
Yeah, so I mean, some aspects are more obvious, like obviously the location of jobs. Looking to in our line of work when we're doing multiple jobs a day, looking
Yeah,
to
travel.
looking to coordinate jobs so that they're close to each other. That's one aspect, or even the selection of the tradesman that goes to that job. So if they've
Yeah,
been to the job before, that's going to create efficiency straight away. They're
yeah,
going back to that job, especially in maybe body corporate jobs where there's access requirements and they've got to find certain things on the job. Yeah, so another key aspect with efficiency around scheduling, I've come to realize, is capacity management. Um, so which is very easy to overlook. It's
yeah,
very easy to get caught up in the outside pressures from clients and that, and just look to book the next available slot all the time. Keep a full schedule. If it's a full schedule, surely that's a good thing.
yeah. Look at
Um,
the next week, that kind of short term.
yeah,
Fill it
and
up, fill it up.
I've come to realize there's a huge benefit in bringing awareness around the capacity as a team and creating ultimately a buffer within the schedule.
Yeah,
That ultimately results in less mistakes. The guys aren't rushing just to go to the next job. They've got more time to engage with clients on site, um, which results in a better experience for the client, and also more time to potentially take on other opportunities for other work the client might want done on the day that we weren't necessarily aware of. That one is a huge, big efficiency lever, that one.
yeah,
It's always going to be more efficient to continue doing work at the job you're on than drive to another job.
absolutely.
And also, less sick days. The guys aren't under the pump quite so much. Um, yeah, so
Yeah, and that's kind of that where people get efficiency wrong, right?
mm,
Is that they think I've got to keep my guys really busy all of these hours all the time, do overtime, do all of that type of stuff within a schedule. When actually, if we're keeping our guys under the pump and they're having to chase between jobs and getting everywhere and working to that kind of type of efficiency, that staff burnout, the, as you say, sick days, all of
mm,
that coming through starts working against you in a dramatic way when it comes to efficiency. And you
yeah,
as a business owner having to manage that time to ensure not only that your staff are able to do the job, but do it well,
mm,
maintain quality within your business and deliver the value that you expect from your service.
absolutely. Um, yeah, it's something that's I've had to learn. There's a balance to that capacity side of things. So yeah, it's something I've definitely had to learn to navigate and know what there's a sort of a good point as far as how much capacity to have within the schedule. So this currently we'll often purposely leave afternoons open at the start of the week for at least one tradesman to allow for that flexibility.
Yeah.
So that might be helping out someone on a job that may have had extra works come up, or purely like a call out come in. So being able to take on that urgent inquiry from a client, take on those opportunities. It's funny because in reflection of some of the what have seemed like quieter months or quieter times in the business, we've actually been able to capitalize on that to a degree because of the capacity we've had. And it may mean that, we're literally just a couple of days booked ahead. But at the end of the day, you've only got a certain amount of hours per day. It's if you're filling up that day and you're efficient within that day, that's all that matters. And that's something I've had to learn in the quieter times is just focus just the day ahead. Just focus on the next day ahead. It's quite overwhelming to look at next week being empty, which I've had times like that, finish on a Friday and next week's almost empty. But just, stepping back to, okay, let's just focus on the next day ahead. And it's, and again, you get those opportunities you can take in those times of when it's a bit quieter.
And it's often one that we see, and I think, I've seen it with a lot of businesses where they sometimes get confused between a really busy month where revenue, like your dollar value of your revenue, looks really high. But when you actually break it down and you compare it to a quieter month, your profitability on that quieter month might have actually been better when you compare it relatively. And if we actually try to mimic that performance from that quieter month and not just kind of get out of control with chasing the dollar and trying to get that revenue up constantly, you can actually start looking at kind of improving your profitability as you grow, and having that kind of systemization, particularly around the schedule, so that you're managing that in line with your team as well and managing capacity well. It's a huge part of efficiency and profitability.
Yeah, I think something else that correlates with that is the type of work you're doing. So one thing I've realized is it's quite easy to see a project job that's of a higher value and think, that's a large amount of the income for the month, but it's a larger job because it's a bigger job and it's got a lot of more hours on it. But it's very easy to lose efficiency on some of those jobs. I've noticed just in reflecting on the last few months and looking at different jobs we've had on. So that's one aspect that can, it's be a little bit deceiving, I found.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And again, that's the thing of looking at the dollar value first versus profitability, because efficiency is one that talks to profitability. It's not necessarily about, the dollar value and working harder and working more. It's about how effectively and efficiently and profitably do we actually perform our work. It's a slightly different concept, and sometimes it can be challenging to step away from that mindset of just chasing the invoices and actually look at how are my operations actually working and being efficient.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I remember when we a number of months ago now, we lost an employee for a little bit, and we were down to 2 tradesmen. We had 3, and I recall at that point in time the way we operated efficiency wise, it was surprising how much we were able to still try maintain a decent level of billable hours, so at least cover costs as a business, with that tradesman down. So that was an interesting experience to go through that and then reflect and go, actually, and look at, there's a learning curve. I think the capacity management, I think probably the most pivotal time of year that's relatable is around Christmas. That's when it really becomes, in reflection, Christmas, leading up to Christmas, December, can be like what appears a busy month, which it often is, but it doesn't necessarily correlate to the most efficient month,
Yeah,
because of some
definitely.
of those things I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess one of the things where you've actually managed to, and this is again stepping back from efficiency and actually thinking how you as a business owner can control efficiency without it being a reflection of how much work your guys are doing, is looking at that pricing side and how we actually go about our pricing to make sure that your team are capable of achieving efficiency within your kind of pricing and quoting process as
Mm.
well. What's been your way of looking at pricing to try and manage efficiency well so that you're not seeing this drain upon the business that's just ultimately costing you?
Yeah, sure. So I think a number of years ago, implementing the shopping list pricing system, which Greg speaks about a lot in the academy, it's become very common knowledge now within the academy. Implementing that was a real big game changer, and creating that as a system. It's definitely something that building that system is an absolute investment.
Yeah.
Um, and it's bit by bit, it's you just continue investing in this system that's just giving back ultimately. That system
And
now,
for you now with 3 guys on,
yeah,
if you
absolutely.
didn't have a standardized pricing, imagine how much would be on your shoulders
Mm. Yeah, I
to be
mean,
quoting and pricing.
absolutely. Now I can have the guys go out to a job, and I'll touch base with them at the end of the day, and they've quoted up front and had all the work approved, completed the work, because there's a system in place for them to be able to follow that. Yeah, so and that's something that we're always critiquing and tweaking and building out more. I'm big on getting feedback from the guys on that, on the bundles that we use, looking at what's missing, where they need help. So yeah, I'm really big on working together as a whole team on that,
And
getting
that's been
feedback.
quite a recent implementation for you, with kind of allowing the guys to take a bit of ownership on that with kind of on-site
Yeah,
upsells and et cetera. Like, that's been a bit of a process for you as well.
it has. I mean, they were doing a little bit here and there of extra works that the client might mention they want done, but I'm really starting to give them more freedom around that. And with training, there's been
Yeah.
training alongside that, but that's been really big. It's been huge in recent months.
Yeah. Talking to efficiency, like shortening that loop, right? Instead of it having to go all the way around you and have this big admin process, being able to keep it there and on site.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah.
doing the work when we can, doing the work on the day,
Yeah.
not coming back and saying, oh, you will get a quote to you, and then following up in a week, and
Yeah.
it's just all it's so inefficient.
Yeah,
Mm,
absolutely. And as you say, it's not necessarily an easy thing to implement. You do have to have parameters and systems and processes
mm,
around that. And
absolutely.
you've worked hard to build that. And as you say, it is an ongoing process to find the right way to go about it. But I know, for instance, one of the other things that we've spoken about and something that really does talk to really kind of aligning your staff and the business to make sure that, if the business is tracking the right way, we can make sure that we're bringing the staff and bringing them along in that direction. Because when our staff and our business interests are aligned, not only is the team kind of happier and more efficient, but it does translate to something that can be really financially healthy for the business as well. And for you, looking at that, what it's meant to start incentivizing staff
Mhm.
based on some of those upsellings and what they're able to do that has become really efficient for the business.
Yeah, absolutely. That's been a big one as well in recent times. Different incentives. I mean, even with 5-star reviews, um, we're big on incentives around that. I think a 5-star review or a really happy client reflects one on a good service, but that's a client that's more likely to refer you to other friends and family. So it goes much bigger than just that experience that one client had. So and in this day and age with Google and that, it's a big one as well. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that balance between quality and
Mm,
efficiency. And if you
yeah.
can get the guys to lean in on it and track the same way, then hopefully the whole scenario is that if the business is winning, they're also winning.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's what I really that's what I strive for. I
Yeah,
strive for
absolutely.
the teams winning, the clients winning, everyone's winning.
Everyone's winning.
So yeah, that's
Yeah,
that's
big
ultimately what
one.
we strive for.
Big one. And I know it's one of those other things that we've talked about as well with it, with around staff incentivizing, like, as we say, like trying to avoid staff burnout and managing efficiency through these unrealistic hours that you might expect of people. And
Mm,
for you, it's been one of those things to encourage guys to lean in on, for instance, the upselling, etc., rather than, for instance, starting to rely on that overtime and charging
mm.
someone out 50 hours a week. That you found that to be a more effective way to get your guys to lean in and be able to earn a little bit more for themselves if that's what they
Absolutely.
want to do.
Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely been a big one. I mean, overtime's not with us. It's not an expectation at all. Occasionally, to get a job tidied up or done for the day, they might do a little bit here and there, but it's not something that we sort of push upon them. There's been times when we've been a bit busier than usual, when the guys have ended up doing quite a bit of overtime, and I've actually noticed that extra working hours has come at a bit of a cost at times. Sick leave, just getting a bit burnt out. So that's something else I've observed around that.
Yeah. Find another way for them to be
Mm,
rewarded financially if they're tracking on the right measurements. That means that the business is doing well overall.
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's really inspiring to hear the way that you kind of look at that and your engagement with your team as well, because it's another thing that I see when I work with businesses a lot is a lot of time business owners, for instance, focus on the cost of staff or, what that actually looks like as potentially a cost or a drain to the business
Mm,
rather than separating out in the business what, yes, might be a cost, but what is actually an investment into your business and to your team. And if we can start differentiating the difference between a cost and an investment that we're actually going to see a return on, it can start to be a little bit easier to take the time to make those investments where it is worth it.
yeah, absolutely. That's such a huge one. Um, and it's sometimes not until you take that uncomfortable step of taking on that what appears to be a cost, um, then you reflect on it and you just wish you'd done it sooner. I think that one of the biggest examples of that investment side of things, um, and that return on investment is around mentoring and coaching. From my experience, it's just a complete no-brainer. Um, the return on investment, not just financially, but also from like a health and well-being perspective. Obviously, if the business is struggling, as a business owner, that does take a toll on you personally, and yeah, in your relationships and that. So it's such a great example
Yeah.
of that investments viewpoint, I guess I'd say. It is the saying, you have to spend money to make money, and I think in business that is definitely true to an extent. Um, yeah, so it's something I've
Yeah.
definitely had to explore and challenge myself on, in different times with growing the business.
Yeah. And it's one thing I have to say that working with so many businesses at the academy is I know my one area of business, like give me accounting and finance any day of the week, love it. I don't know how to do anything on the tools. I don't know how to manage a team. I don't know how to do all the software and implementation. Being a business owner is so many hats to wear and it can be extremely isolating and overwhelming. And yeah, having the support in the places that you need it to try and make sure that not only is that hopefully that journey a little less painful, but that you actually, from my perspective, don't go through the horrible pitfalls of doing all of the work for no return.
Mm,
That can be a horrible thing to see business owners experience as well. So yeah, exactly, where the investment is going to not talk only financially but to your overall health, to your health, to the business health overall.
mm.
Sometimes that investment is no longer a cost, so to speak.
Yeah, not at all. I mean, something else we've just recently implemented more of with the team, which I touched on earlier, is around that training. And when I first started implementing it, I was kind of in my mind, I'm thinking, there's, it might be over a month. It could be, 4 hours or more across a month, for each tradesman, obviously compounding it by 3. But I've come to realize that it's such a great investment. Like, I'm already seeing the impact of that. With the guys being more confident, with the quoting side of things, communication with clients. So that's just another aspect of seeing that sort of investment side of some of those things that appear as a cost. In the
Yeah.
past, I
You're
would
looking
have.
at 12 hours of lost income, and now you
Yeah,
see it
yeah,
down the
and
track.
absolutely. And there's other aspects to it. Yeah, I think the team feel a little bit more on board, a bit more part of the bigger picture as well. Like, getting included in some of these decisions and things. It's they feel a bit more invested in things. So I think that's another um, aspect of that. I think there's so many things. I mean, I think software is another good example.
Yeah.
Like, investing in initially when I started investing in certain softwares, I'd just see it as, oh man, that's quite a bit of a cost per month. Now it's like I'd pay triple. It's like what it does for the business. Like, you can't function it without it. And I remember, running the business, doing invoices in Word, and I think back to the way I used to do things. It's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's another big one. Things like Asana, all
Yeah.
those things that improve efficiency ultimately, especially as a
Yeah.
team, help you run things more efficiently.
Yeah. And particularly to scale a business, like it can be, as you say, invoicing in Word may have worked like sole trader, etc. But if you're actually looking to 12 months or you're looking to the 5 years, etc., it's pretty hard to implement a lot of those systems and processes if you've got a team and you've got volume and everything's going on.
Absolutely, yeah. At the moment, as I said earlier, I'm just revamping, or tweaking our whole Asana systemization. So the task management system we use as a team, and just to increase our efficiency working with each other, the admin and myself and the VA, and um, keep on top of tasks, prioritize things that are a priority. Noticed as the business is growing, it's very easy to get sidetracked with different things and switching between. You can find yourself sort of chasing the next shiny thing, as opposed to focusing on that key next best step. I guess I'd put it that way.
Yeah.
So all those investment of those systems is crucial.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess it's been interesting working with you because, and it's same with a lot of business owners. And it's one thing I say all the time to business owners is you don't need to have a degree in this area or understand all the technicality of finances in order to be able to run a profitable business. It can sometimes feel like that because when you're first stepping into financial reports or accounting software, it seems really, really overwhelming. But I think one of the interesting things from working with you, Nathaniel, is the way that you've used financial information within your business has been as a feedback loop, as really sort of making the changes and implementations and adaptations in your business, and then checking and using your financial information to see if that has worked or not.
Yeah, absolutely. I think seeing the numbers in that and as empowering, as opposed to something that's scary and to be avoided. And reflecting regularly is a big one. So you can make those adjustments, so you don't go half a year, with issues in the background that could have been addressed much sooner.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. That's
There's nothing worse than getting to end of financial year and your accountant saying, "Oh, you made no money. Like, what are we doing all this time?"
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, it is that big thing of instead of the numbers being this list of information that looks incredibly overwhelming or something quite foreign or alien, what does it actually tell you about your operations? And I know, we check in regularly, and I think one of the things with working with you has been your consistency in this area. It's one of those things that when you start looking at your financial information on a slightly more regular basis, stops becoming a list of numbers and starts becoming, oh, well, that's because I did that this month.
Mm, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, being able to track the impact of different changes in the business, and I think it can work the opposite as well. Yeah, we can talk about why things aren't working or what needs adjusting, but it's also can be great to be able to reflect and go, oh, we've had it's been a great month because we've implemented that. Let's keep doing that.
Yeah.
And looking at different aspects, those small tweaks that we can do on, say, a per job basis, that's going to compound across multiple jobs. For us in our line of work, it can be doing complementary health checks and things like that, and making that a part of the process that's done on every new job. And the impact of something as what seems as simple as that across the whole year is massive. Mm.
Huge. Yeah, absolutely. But that regular check-in and making sure that you are using your financial information as a sounding board for what is working and what isn't, as you say. I know, for
Mm.
instance, when we caught up last time, we were like, great, the incentivizing seems to be translating into a good result. This tactic that you're using and implementing in your business, is working. And it's great if you can start stepping away from your numbers as a kind of technical side and actually go, okay, well, based upon what I did within my business that last month, or the little alterations that we made in our operations, great. That means that this side of my business, tick, right, let's move on. Let's go work on something else. So,
Yeah, absolutely. I think something else that I found really helpful was the sort of red light, green light approach, or red, orange, green approach. Sort of not. I tend to get into the details if I'm not careful too much, and it allows me just to zoom out and just go, okay, yeah, now we're in the red, no, we're in the orange, and just get that overview, say on a daily or more so these days on a weekly basis, just reflecting on where we're at. Yeah, so that's something
yeah,
else that I found really helpful.
awareness of the baselines. That's right. Like, you don't necessarily need to dive into all of the detail or have every area of that mastered. But if you know what your business costs per week, or if you know
Mm.
what your revenue target should be for that month, or this or that, just knowing some of the ballparks, that awareness level in itself, I've generally found to be the most powerful thing that business owners can use within their business. So,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, just knowing, what your operational costs are. So for me, I know every month when I get to that level in revenue, I've got, okay, I've just paid for the costs of running the business. It's always like,
yeah,
I'll check that off. So yeah, there's just having those, knowing those, and obviously as the business changes and different costs come on, that's something that's constantly changing. But I think checking in like we do on a reasonably regular basis as changes come up just enables for those little tweaks to be made and just to keep things on the right track.
yeah, absolutely. And yeah, as you say, particularly as a business grows, cost structures change, things change. If you're able to check in and adjust accordingly, then you're able to keep the financial health of your business really in tip-top shape and be able to scale your business without more volume becoming actually an erosion on your profitability.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, awareness around it all is key. And what I would say from having worked with you, Nathaniel, is consistency. It works. It doesn't need to be, an hour a day or 12 hours a week, or, whatever that looks.
Yeah.
It can sometimes just be that check-in. And once you know what your business needs to look like, I can't tell you, the biggest question I get asked is, what should my gross profit margin be, or what should it be? And it's actually like, no, the best thing you can do for your business is know what your business needs to be doing day
Mm,
by day and week by week. And if you know what that looks like as you grow and change, you will be much more financially healthy than trying to target someone else's targets, because no
mm.
two businesses are actually the same.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. I think one of the big things a lot that runs alongside efficiency, which I mentioned a bit earlier, was that awareness around the compound effect of things. And there's actually a really good book, The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy, that I
Yeah.
strongly recommend anyone listening to this, business owners, to read. It had a real big impact on me, not just from a business point of view, but all aspects of life. I kind of nerd out on it a bit as far as that. It's kind of, yeah, it's pretty exciting, and just the impact of realizing like the little things you do on a daily basis, how much of an impact they have on that larger scale over time. Yeah, so that was really helpful in managing that efficiency and getting more aware of those adjustments that can be made.
Fundamental to growing scaling a healthy business. It's funny because, even I work with members who are sole trader through to, bigger companies, and seeing the swing factor even from working with a bigger business last week, where the difference for him between being operating at 100% efficiency and 95% efficiency, you're talking about a 5% change in efficiency. That's pretty small. But because of the size of his business, the swing factor was like $6,000 in profit a week. So it is understanding, as you say, those micro amounts when you're growing a business. If you can understand that impact as you do it, not only are you going to save yourself a lot of pain, but you're going to save yourself a lot of money.
Yeah, absolutely, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess moving forward, as you say, like, we're always a work in progress with what we do, Nathaniel, and we've got stuff that we always want to work on as well. But yeah, to see what you've been able to achieve in your business with, again, taking that operational management and how you've managed to translate that front end side of the business into what is now become those stable financial results that you can check in with and interpret each month. It's been amazing to see, and I hope it's one of those things that other business owners can look at and go, okay, I don't need to be an absolute guru in this area, but if I know how to manage my operations and use my financial information as a measurement of how that's going, then I might be starting to use my numbers to empower myself as a business
Yeah,
owner.
absolutely. Like, I just know I've still got lots to learn, and it's definitely been work in progress. I in no way would class myself someone that's potentially particularly savvy in the whole financial side of the business, but I think focusing on the basics in the beginning and getting those foundations right is, yeah, if you get that right, then you're over halfway there. So I think that's a big one.
Yeah.
Just get those foundations right before you start growing. Because I can see if I hadn't done a lot of the things I've done in the last few years and just grew up, I can see how that would have had a big negative impact. So
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's amazing to get to have seen you last time on the podcast and to see where that is now. And I'm excited. Hopefully there might be another podcast down the track, Nathaniel, and we can share some more insights on your business. But awesome to catch up. But
awesome. Thanks, Ellie. I've enjoyed it.
Thanks, Nathaniel.
Thanks. Yeah.
I'll just pretend the recording stopped.
All right, cool.